Live and direct. It's Sway in the morning.
Right here on Shade 45.
Well, I'll say this about this young lady who's an author of the book, The Hip Hop Professional 2.0, A Woman's Guide to Climbing the Ladder of Success in the Entertainment Business. 2 decades ago, at least when she was 10, is when I first met her. Minimal, 2 decades ago. And one of the many groups that she helped bring to this audience at that time was a group who was out of Atlanta, didn't fit the criteria or the stigma that Atlanta artists had at that time. Right. Struggling in a sense for people to grab on to this movement that they were creating, even though they had their own identity. It showed a layer to a region that no one was exposed to. And when you have groups like that, the one I'm speaking of right now is Outkast. When you have groups like that, or Goody Mob, or the entire Dungeon family, they need help to be, exposed properly. And the best people to do it are people who are immersed in an environment, who are immersed in the culture and the community that these groups come from, but also have a business mind and know how to execute properly. At that time with LaFace Records, they had a young lady by the name of Shanti that was there every step of the way with groups like Outkast, with groups like Goody Mob, with groups like TLC, with groups like Usher, with artists like Tony Braxton, and she had been for years. And she also created platforms here like R&B Live in New York City that became so popular that people start emulating that movement all around the country. And a lot of artists, because of that, were discovered. She eventually walked away from the music business for personal reasons and also to reinvent and reboot herself, which she's done in an excellent way. I consider her a sister of mine. Every so often we reach out to each other, but as long as we've known each other, if I didn't talk to Shanti Doss in a year's time, we could pick up the phone and start our conversation right where we left it off, and nothing feels unfamiliar. And she has this book out right now, and she's doing a speaking tour. So if you're at a college campus or if you're in a corporate office and you're trying to target a certain demographic, she could give you the insight on how to reach like this pop culture, this youth culture that's out today, what they call the millennials, and especially this urban culture that is responsible for billions of dollars of revenue streams. Please welcome to the show the one and only Shanti Doss, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Wow.
Absolutely, man.
That was a great intro. I'm a little at a loss for words right now.
What's untrue about it?
I mean, you know me. I'm usually the behind the scenes chick.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful for you and appreciative of everyone on the show for having me. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
But I think the behind the scenes person should now, they say transparency is the new mystery. You know what I mean? So behind all these success stories, it wasn't just the artists, it wasn't just their creative process, but it was definitely needed for it to become a success story. But it was those around you, the team you surrounded yourself with, and you have always loved your artists and pushed them.
Passionate.
And love meaning not just like in their music, but love them enough to learn the business and learn the tricks of the trade and how to create make a song into a hit and how to, make a hit into a movement and a movement into an era, right? You've been behind, like, listen to these names: Usher, TLC,
right,
Tony Braxton, Life. Right,
Life
Jennings,
Vivian Green.
I remember all these acts that you touched and helped them achieve their dreams. But it wasn't easy along the way, especially being a woman, correct?
Absolutely not.
Talk about that. Like, I mean, when you think of the music business and being a woman, which is a predominantly male-driven business, right? Man, you think of casting couches, right?
Yeah.
You think of women doing sexual exploits to get advanced.
It's real talk.
Disparity in salaries. Men make more money than women, right? Was that true for you the entire time? When did you first realize that this would be something you had to face?
Well, for me, it was interesting because when I was a student at Syracuse University, I had a hip-hop radio show. So I was definitely in the culture. I was a sneakerhead, and I was hanging out with Jermaine Dupri and those guys, jeans to the back and that sort of thing. And so I kind of decided, like, okay, I got to figure out a way to make people really want to be with me because of like my work ethic.
Yeah.
And because of my passion and what I wanted to do. And I saw this was a very social industry. You hang out all the time. It's a lot of events and parties and people constantly hitting on you. And that's cool, but I had to figure out, because, you know, as a woman, it's easy for us to get pegged as a B, you know.
What's a B?
A bitch.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, all right.
Very easy. So you can't be too one way or the other. So I had to find a happy medium. So I kind of took on the role of like everybody's little sister. So the baggy clothes and all of that kind of helped divert the attention from guys necessarily trying to look at me and see what was underneath the clothes. And I was like, let me just get out here and work hard and grind. And so I almost made that like my uniform. And I just wanted to be cool with everybody. I wasn't trying to go home with you at night. I just wanted to work in the game.
How often did you have to, like, was it every time you went to a work event? Would it be in a conference room when you had work meetings? Like, was
I mean, there were several events. You know, I've gotten hit on by people that were in my company, and it was some uncomfortable situations. And, you know, I tried to handle it without, and some of the companies, you know, were smaller companies, so they didn't have the HR departments.
Yeah.
So I was the type of person, though, where I was like, let me just nip this in the bud and we can move on from it. And so I was never afraid to pull you to the side and be like, yo, dog, like, this can't go down like this. I'm not here for this.
Yeah.
And if it's got to be like this, then this probably isn't the place for me. But I really want to be here. You know, I love the company. I'm down with the team, but I'm not here for that. And so what I say to women is just, you just got to stick up for yourself.
We're talking about the adversity that women face working in any business, but specifically the music business right now. Tracy, you asked her an interesting question.
Yeah, because we always hear the entertainment industry is about who you know. Make sure that your network is as wide and as tall as possible. And sometimes you want to befriend an artist.
Right.
And then, of course, you want to befriend the actual people you work with behind the scenes. So say one of those two guys or both of them are trying to hit on you.
Right.
Is there a different approach for a rapper versus an exec?
I think so. Obviously, I think you can be a little bit more firm with the executive in getting your point across. But with the artist, like for me, what I used to do is I'd be like, yo, like, you know, you're a really nice guy. You're handsome. But like, let me hook you up with somebody. Like, I'm not really that chick. I'm not that girl for you.
But
and so I would kind of spin it.
Right.
And so it's a, hey, you want me to introduce you to such and such? I got you on that. But I'm not really that one.
Yeah, but sometimes you may meet someone and they're the exception to the rule. Has that ever happened?
Not for me, only because, you know, thank God, you know, again, this industry is based on your word and your reputation. And so I think my reputation, you know, preceded itself. So when I met these guys, they really didn't come at me like that. So it's all about how you carry yourself. And so from day one, ladies, like, you got to know, like, how to act and how you want to be perceived in the game. If you want to be perceived as, you know, the chick that everybody's trying to hit, then that's what's going to, you know, be out there in terms of your reputation. But I didn't start like that. And so I made sure that, you know, I was consistent.
Right.
I think as women, we work all our lives to get in the game. You know, you get in, you work hard, you go hard. You finally get there. And then Sway mentioned in your intro how you left, you know, for your own personal reasons.
Which is hard to walk away. People thought I was nuts.
That's what I wanted to touch on. A lot of times people don't really leave because of money. They leave for other reasons. You know, there's a lot of access, there's a lot of connections, and it's hard to walk away. What was your deciding factor? Like, what made you say, I've had enough?
So, like, 2009 wasn't a great year for me. My uncle died, who was like a father to me, because my father committed suicide when I was a baby, and so he helped raise me. My mother started developing dementia, which is now Alzheimer's. I had some health issues. I felt like I wasn't really taking care of myself. I wasn't eating properly. And I just wasn't as fulfilled at the company. Like, I would go to work every day, had a great job, 6-figure plus corner office, all of that we dream about, right? And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it's just not, I wasn't being fulfilled mentally, physically, and it's just something didn't feel right on the inside. And so I took a huge leap of faith. You know, because it wasn't like I had millions stashed somewhere. You know, you got a nest egg, but that's going to only last for so long. But I prayed about it a lot. And that was another thing. Like, I wasn't really that spiritual coming up in the game. I mean, I always loved God and used to go to church, but I didn't walk with God every step of the way. And so that's been a big transformation for me over these last 4 years. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm smart. I got contacts. I'll figure it out. And it was very scary. And it's funny when you walk away, like some cats, you can still get on the phone. Sway, I can still get on the phone. But there are some guys who I thought I list as mentors in my book, and I can't even get an email return or a call back. But that's okay. Like, I know I'm living in my purpose now, and I did right by people. And so some of that goodwill is going to come back to me. And you just got to have that confidence and be like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, it'll be okay.
Good for you.
Let's talk about chapter 9 in the book, The Power of the P. And then, you know, Let me say this. I mean, we're kind of trivializing a lot about what your, well, not even trivializing, but I mean, it is a reality that women have to go through chauvinism and all these things in these
No doubt.
workforces. But you helped create the approach to marketing for urban artists back in the 90s that still to this day is effective, and it was through a trial and error period because you were promoting and marketing music that in a way that people hadn't really done yet, correct?
In terms of the genre or just the style?
The genre in the style, because hip hop or even hip hop R&B had to be approached differently from
Right.
pop
Yeah.
and rock,
Yep.
right?
Right.
And they still use these same methods to this day. So there's something to be said to not only just being a woman, but also being a knowledgeable person and through trial and error learning about the game
And trying to be different. Because,
Yeah.
think about how back when, Puffy did the Big Mac, where he did the tapes inside the buns, and you just had to be creative and think out of the box. Like back in the day, I did a campaign for Donnell Jones, and we distributed samplers, but I gave away 2 samplers instead of 1, and it was one for the car, 1 for the crib. So you always had to think about what would make it easier for the consumer. This was before social media.
Yeah.
This is when we had to do hand-to-hand
Hand-to-hand.
distribution, and so it was constantly trying to come up with creative and innovative ways to market that would stick. And we flooded Freaknik, with Outkast.
Yeah.
Just got out there, and I was the first person to do a rap vehicle in the South.
When
That
you
was
say
big.
rap vehicle, so you
the
speak
rap vans.
when you see the
Right,
promotion,
the artwork wrapped around the entire vehicle, where we would have the artwork of the album.
Sway in the morning, Shade 45. Shanti Dawson's here. This is a great book that you could have called The Hip Hop Professional 2.0, A Woman's Guide to Climbing the Ladder of Success in the Entertainment Business. First of all, is this book out right now, Shanti?
It is, and so it's interesting when you self-publish. I did an ebook. It's on iTunes right now. It's on Amazon for the Kindle, but for the first time, it's in brick and mortar stores. It's in 4 stores in the airport in Atlanta, which is the world's busiest airport.
Wow.
And Walmart is about to test it in Atlanta.
Shanti Dawson is
Good for you.
Shout out to Walmart.
an executive from the music business who has walked many acts from Outkast to Usher and to success, and now you're doing your own thing. We were talking about Chapter 9, the 3 Ps.
Yes. Perseverance, professionalism, and positioning.
What do you mean by that? How can these be effective for a person in the business?
Well, as one, first of all, perseverance, you got to be willing to stick it out. Things aren't going to happen. You're not going to get that job right when you want it. You might put in 100 resumes. So I tell the young generation, like, intern, because a lot of companies come back around and want to hire people that worked for them previously. So you just got to hang in there. You got to be great at networking. You can't be afraid, of hearing no, because to me, no means, okay, let me find another way around to the yes. And so that's being able to have perseverance,
Okay.
and stick in it until you fulfill your dreams.
Professionalism.
Gosh, return your emails, call people back, be a woman of integrity, be a man or woman of your word.
Yeah.
Know how to carry yourself. You got a job to do it. You talked about hanging out with the artists. Like, it's cool to befriend these artists, but you're there to get a job done. Like, don't worry about trying to be their best friend. I learned that, early on. You're going to get burnt. Like, these artists respect you, but they need you there to help them with their careers. They don't need you there to be their homeboy. They got a crew for that.
Word.
All right.
And so we mess up with that sometimes.
Yeah, and then if something doesn't go right, guess what they blame?
You, and they're not hanging out with you anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're not their friend and you're not working for them.
Okay, and then positioning.
Positioning is, show up with a purpose. When you go into a room, don't just get there and hang out. Don't stay in the corner. Walk around, network, move around. I got another book called The 1, 2, 3s of Networking. It's 30 networking tips. Can't be afraid to work the room. And so I shout out, how Def Jam did it back in the day. You see people like Kevin Liles and Leor and Julie Greenwald and Mike Kaiser. Those guys were very effective. Chris Lighty, the late and great Chris Lighty, rest in peace. That guy always showed up with a purpose, and everything he did was calculated. You saw him talking to the right person and moving around the room and working it the way he needed to do. So play your positions. Don't just go there to hang out.
Play your position. Shanti Dawson, let's give her a round of applause. People want to reach you. How can they reach you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Shanti Das 404.
Spell it out.
SHANTIDAS 404 on Facebook / The Hip Hop Professional. And I just want to also say that this month, for Black History Month, I'm going to be doing a book signing and panel in New York around the weekend of the 18th, and I'm in partnership with Be The Match. So, talk about hip hop and health and trying to help and give back, because I do a lot of philanthropic work. But we'll talk about that in my next interview.
We'll talk about that. Okay, Shanti Das, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
Someone
you
to
so
look
much.
up to. Get that book, The Hip Hop Professional, Woman's Guide to Climbing ladder of success in the entertainment business. Shanti, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're listening to Sway in the morning
On Shea 45.